Wir haben jetzt den nächsten Vortrag vom Kapil, Arora. Er ist ein Mitarbeiter von der NetApp. Die einen oder anderen werden ihn schon kennen. Ich habe ihn bis jetzt nur immer als guten Techniker erlebt. Und er wird uns zeigen, wie man moderne und klassische Workloads verbinden kann. Danke. Und ja, viel Spaß.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kapil Arora, as he mentioned, and this presentation is in English. Ich kann ein bisschen Deutsch, aber mein Deutsch ist nicht so gut. Thank you for choosing this session and not the other one, but I think the other one is also very interesting. I hope they will all be on YouTube afterwards, and we can all enjoy the ones that we missed. So this session is about building a solid storage foundation for new and traditional workloads. So there are lots of workloads which exist today, and there are new ones that are coming. And this session is mostly about how you basically differentiate between them, and how do you think about storage when you are designing or architecting your storage architecture. But before we get started, I wanted to talk about the smart guys in the open source world. There are lots of smart guys here, and I think most of you are here, smart guys. And all of the people who are working on open source technologies, there's a problem that companies are facing today. And I would like to tell you a small story. So I was at a meetup, a DevOps meetup in Munich. It was at the Google office. It was one of the most attended DevOps meetups that I have been to. And you know, this is in the new environment. There are lots of meetups. People meet up at these meetings, have pizza, and talk about the new and cool stuff. So I was sitting next to this guy, and he's from a startup in Munich itself. And actually, they are geographically distributed. They are at many places in the world. And I asked him, how's your startup doing? He said they are doing really well. And as a storage guy, I asked him, so what do you use for storage? And he asked me immediately, where do you work? And I was like, at NetApp. Oh, NetApp is very expensive for us. That was the first thing he said. And then I asked him, what do you use? And he said, we have a Ceph cluster. I was like, cool. I also always want to know more about such Ceph clusters and what are people actually doing with them. Then he told me they have a big Ceph cluster, 2.5 petabytes, running at 25 servers, running everything is running well. But he said they had lots of challenges. And I was like, how did you get started with it? He said, we had a really intelligent guy who joined us, and he was very Ceph pro. And he did everything. We had lots of problems. I had no idea what he's doing, but it was really, really good what he did. And he solved all our problems. I was like, that's great. But then he said, but now that guy is leaving. That guy's going, and that was the expert guy who knew Ceph, and he knew every small tweaking thing that he could do to make sure that the workload is running fine, right? So I was like, yeah, that's really bad for you. And he said, if you know any guys who can do Ceph really well, please recommend them to us. I was like, sure. And that's not only for Ceph. It's about all open source technologies. All these cool technologies are really complex, including OpenStack. And that's the problem that we face as a company too at NetApp. I have seen so many of my colleagues go away. And why am I saying all this, first of all? Yeah. I think this is something that we should all think about. We should think about when we are architecting these new solutions, what exactly do we want? Do we want these people to, do we want to make resources and then let them go? And maybe they will go to our competitors, So during the maturation of these technologies, this is bound to happen, but this is something we should think about, that's all. I'm not saying that the guy who left NetApp is a bad guy, or the company who hired the guy is a bad company. It's all part of the game, and this is going to happen. It's just that something that happens to me a lot, and I wanted to share with you guys. Yeah. So now let's get back to the topic. So when we say traditional workloads, what are these traditional workloads? What are we really talking about? These are the SAPs, the Exchange servers, the SQL servers, MySQL databases, and Oracle, DB2. All of us have them, and they are running our critical businesses, I think. And if you try to look at the cloud technologies, they might be a small circle. But if you look at these traditional workloads, they are a huge circle, and most businesses are still running and sustaining on these technologies, right? And we have to care about them, and we have to make sure that they still are part of our new architectures, right? And if we look at what are the important parameters that we need to run these particular traditional applications, they are data management, basically, from a storage perspective. Because I'm a storage guy, I think about it on a storage perspective. And I want that these applications are really nicely integrated with storage so that we can take advantage of the efficiencies that storage systems can provide. And it actually really, really helps. And I will show you in some of the slides later how it can help you. So high availability, data protection, replication, snapshots, cloning, all these features are really, really important. For example, NetApp has softwares like SQL Snap Managers for Oracle, and they are successful products, and customers really use them and like them. And they really help them. If you actually do a dump of a database, it takes a lot of time, for example, but if you do a clone, it's fairly quick and also space efficient, right? So that being said, when we move to an OpenStack environment, how do we leverage such features from a storage system? So there are lots of features that a storage system, like also NetApp, can provide you. For example, compression. You cannot see it really well here, but compression, deduplication, thin provisioning, replication, snapshots, cloning. All these features can be actually provided in OpenStack, but you actually need to make them available to your user. And you cannot tell your user, OK, there's a storage system, and you need to turn on thin provisioning for this application, right? So you need to create a storage catalog to provide that. And that's what good enterprises can integrate with OpenStack and provide you with a catalog kind of functionality where you can actually enable your users to have, for example, a catalog like good, better, best, gold, silver, bronze. And how would it work? Maybe if you are creating a bronze volume, it will sit on a SATA disk automatically, and user doesn't need to worry about what's happening with this volume, right? If you're creating a gold volume, it's sitting on an SSD. It is automatically replicated, for example. So these are the capabilities that you can probably expose within OpenStack and abstract your user completely of the functionalities on a storage system. Now let's talk about a use case of a customer I work with. It's an insurance company in Europe, and they started with a project right about the time when OpenStack started. But they didn't start it with OpenStack. They wanted to have an orchestration, and they wanted to have automation around their database provisioning for their developers. All right, so they started with an orchestration layer and also automation, and had a self-service portal which was custom-made. Right? And their developers could go into the self-service portal and say, I need this database of this size. It could be SQL Server, or it could be Oracle. And provision this for me. I don't care where it is. I just need the database and access values for this. Right? Everything is completely automated. So they started with this project, but soon they realized that OpenStack is something that is making a mark, and it is something which is viable. And the most important thing that OpenStack can provide you, and if you see the survey from OpenStack's foundation, that is that it provides a standard API, right? You can have a standardized API, and that's the most, all the users think that of OpenStack. The standard API is one of the most important reasons. And I think this customer also thought that having a standard API will help them. So they inserted the layer of OpenStack in between, right? Today, they're running their standard hardware, the enterprise hardware that they use. They're using VMware, they're not using KVM, but still they thought there is value today to add this layer in between. Why? Because tomorrow, if they want to change from VMware to KVM, they don't need to change the whole automation, self-service portal, all these layers which are above the standard API, because the standard API will kind of protect them from those changes. They can change the kind of database, they can change the storage that you use today. And another important thing that we helped them with was they always used Oracle databases with NFS shares. And we started our Manila project, which is file share services in OpenStack, and we helped them come up to speed and make sure that the way they have always done their Oracle databases, they can still do it in the same way. Right? I will talk more about Manila, actually. So Manila is one of the projects that NetApp started. I don't know how many of you already know about Manila, but it is the file share services. Like we have Cinder for block storage. Manila is the file share services program of OpenStack. And NetApp started this project. And because we have so much experience in the NAS industry, and we have been the leader in the NAS industry, we wanted to contribute to the community and provide this as our contribution into the foundation. And we have lots of developers working on it. We also worked with Mirantis and did lots of development into Manila. And today it is production ready. So why Manila? I think there are lots of use cases, new and old both. So we saw the SAP, not the SAP, we saw the Oracle use case of a traditional database. We have SAP. I have been working with SAP, and I have used lots of NFS-related SAP systems always for my tests, right? So that is one use case, that is enterprise applications. And then, say, for example, you are going into the new world of containers, and you want many containers to share the same storage. How would you do that? You cannot really do that with Cinder. You need something like Manila, which can help you share storage between containers, right? Maybe you will use object storage, but this is also one of the options that you can use, right? And there are other use cases like HDFS, so you can use it to provision HDFS shares for big data and the sort. So there's a lot of gap which existed, which we are trying to fill with Manila today. Moving on, this is the last storage feature that I will talk about, that is cloning. This is one of the legacy features of many storage systems, and we at NetApp are really proud of our cloning technology. And how can this really help you? Let me give you an example. Say you have a test bed which needs to test a scale-out scenario, where you need to fire up thousands of VMs and then destroy all the VMs after you finish your tests. Okay? So firing up 1,000 VMs will take a long time if you are actually doing it even through ephemeral storage in Nova, right? But if you can use storage-based cloning technology, maybe that could be faster. And we'll show you how fast it happened with us. So if you see, with ONTAP, we could clone 1,000. We did 3 tests. So we could clone 1,000 volumes, Cinder volumes, in only 5.7 minutes. And we could create 1,000 instances and boot them. So it's not just creating the instances, but also booting the instances in 26 minutes. So that's like amazing numbers. And for test scenarios such as these, for big companies which want to test scale-out scenarios, this has been really helpful. And we have been working with some customers to actually make this happen for them and change their build times to, for example, from 1 week to 30 minutes, for example. So this is really effective, and it also helps. Also, if you're deleting them, right? So this is one of the scenarios. It might be helpful in many other scenarios where you have lots of users coming up all the time, and you need to get rid of VMs and make new VMs all the time. So this is where cloning technologies of enterprise storage can help you, right? Now let me talk about some use cases or customers that I'm working with. So that we were talking about Manila, let me talk about 2 customers that we work on Manila with. One is SAP. So SAP is actually a very important example for us because as a community, OpenStack, SAP is actually contributing to the Manila code. And they are working so that they can bring their cloud into production, and they're working with us so that they can do development themselves. So this is like exactly what an open source community means, right? And they are setting an example for other companies to do and contribute in the same way. So we are working with them so that they can bring about their cloud solutions live with Manila, and they are doing development work with us. And we, as enterprise vendor and also Cisco, are supporting them in this efforts. Other example is we are also working with Deutsche Telekom, for example, for Manila. And we did evaluation, and we presented that in the Vancouver Summit and also the Austin Summit this year. And we showed how Manila can actually help them onboard existing applications which use file shares into their NFV cloud, for example. So that is an evaluation which is ongoing. We did already 2 phases, and probably we'll do more of those in future. Then another company in Europe. Basically, I work in Europe, and I work with many customers in Europe, not just Germany. So I work with BBVA, which is the 2nd largest bank in Spain. And they have actually already deployed an OpenStack environment, and this is mostly for their enterprise applications. But now they're deploying a new cloud, which is geo-distributed at multiple locations in South America and Europe. And I'm helping them with their new deployment because now they want to do platform as a service on top of that. So this is a customer who started with enterprise applications, but now is also onboarding platform as a service. And last, I talked about how fast you can make your provisioning of your virtual machines. And this is what we helped NHN Entertainment, which is a gaming company in South Korea. And now they can actually create their gaming environments, which are huge, which have huge workspaces, huge databases, in less than 30 minutes, which used to be 1 week earlier for them, because they had multiple virtual machines, they had to do lots of simulations and huge databases, lots of data, and this makes a lot of difference. So they're still doing development in the same way that they used to, but because they're leveraging some enterprise features, they are able to do things in a more agile manner, right? They are able to introduce some DevOps features within their development framework so that they can do things much faster than they used to. And OpenStack and NetApp both are helping them in that. So it's not just that we are as a vendor, as a foundation member, or we are writing code in OpenStack, but we are also using it in-house. And we have 2 clouds in NetApp. One is the Global IT Cloud, and one is Global Engineering Cloud. And what I'm talking about here is the Global Engineering Cloud, which serves all our developers, and also our OpenStack team, for example. And this team is in a transition mode from, say, ticketing-based system to a service, self-service kind of system where they now can, allow users to create their own VMs and provision their own databases and things like that. And they are using OpenStack as a foundation for that. And today they are seeing more than $5 million worth of savings, $5 million, and they have reduced the time that it used to take to say, with the ticketing-based system from more than 90%, less time now to say provision new virtual machines or provide development environments to our developers. So it's not just that we are talking about it, but we are also deploying it ourselves. And our own IT acts as a customer zero. So they will test all the integrations that we do, and also they will deploy them. So they will act as customer one for them. So if you're a NetApp customer and you are using any new features for OpenStack, you know that NetApp IT is already using those features. So this really helps us, helps our teams, our developers, and also the customers. So that was about what exists, what we have, what is the enterprise storage provides you, how cloning helps, how snapshots helps. That was which we have been talking about from ages. Let's talk about something new. What's new? What's happening new in storage industry, right? So, everybody talks about third platform, software-defined data center, and whatnot. There are so many names. You can see all of them here: Infrastructure 2.0, private cloud, OpenStack. They are all names for the new age where we want to go, right? We all want to go into this new age where everything is agile, everything is quick, we can solve our business problems like this, And what are the characteristics when we think on the point of storage? What should storage be like when we go into this data center? How should it be? What should be the properties of the storage? And I think most important thing is it should be agile. It should be scale out, of course, but does it mean that I buy a big storage system today and then a big storage system tomorrow? Is that scale out? Maybe not. Maybe I want to incrementally scale out. I want to scale out in a small portions. I don't want to buy big systems. I want to buy small systems and keep adding them, right? It means that I should be able to automate everything. I should have REST APIs for each and everything that I need. I should be able to integrate my storage into Puppet, Chef, Ansible, you name it. I should have all those things and should be able to use them with my storage system. Maybe I should not want to touch my storage system. I don't want to go to the CLI. I want to automate everything. I want everything to be done through OpenStack maybe, right? Those are the things that you think about when you think about the new age, right? What else? It should give me predictable performance. If I ask it to give me so much IOPS for this volume, I should get these many IOPS, right? That's it. I don't want to tweak this option and then tune that option for this workload and that workload, right? That's the vision. That's where we want to go. And that's how simple we want storage to be, right? That's our vision. And that's what we want in the new age data center. And why? Because things are changing from single tenants to multi-tenants, right? One workload to many workloads. Today I have one workload. I don't know which workloads are going to come, which business use cases are going to come. I have no idea, right? I have to be ready for my developers and I have to provide them with the infrastructure, right? Things used to be project-based. You have, okay, I have to deploy so many Oracle databases. I buy storage for this particular system. I deploy everything like this. I have a technical report available for that, and I will design my system according to that particular use case. It's not that way anymore. You don't want to work with such things anymore, right? You don't want to define things in hardware. You want software for everything, right? So that's where the world is going. That's where the storage needs to go as well, right? And that's where NetApp wants to take you, and NetApp wants to promise you that that's the vision that we want to take as well, right? And of course, I already talked about manual administration. We don't want any storage admin sitting on the storage system and trying to figure out this and that and going through a certification and understanding each and every small option. No, that's not what we want in the new age data center. And that's where I want to introduce you to SolidFire. I don't know how many of you know SolidFire, but SolidFire is what we think is the storage system of the future. And it exhibits most of the qualities that I already mentioned. And one of the greatest qualities that I think, which really nobody has to offer, is volume-based IOPS. So basically, you can assure guaranteed performance. You can give guaranteed performance to your users. So what that means, you can have multiple workloads running in the same environment, and you can guarantee them their performance, right? You can scale it out, and I will talk about scale out in a different way. How exactly can SolidFire scale out? And of course, this system should also have the global efficiency. It should provide me thin provisioning. It should provide me deduplication, compression, but I don't need to know about it. I don't care. I just want to make sure that I have performance, right? I don't want to worry about, okay, this is the workload where I can turn on a compression. This is the workload, maybe not, right? So these are the things you need to think about, and this is exactly what. And last thing about SolidFire is that it is a proven platform. We have multiple customers. I will talk more in detail about what our customers are doing with SolidFire. And these are already customers which are deploying SolidFire. So I talked about QoS. So how does QoS work in SolidFire? It's very simple. You have a volume. You tell SolidFire system, give me one volume. And I want minimum IOPS and maximum IOPS. And if the application is running on a low IOP level for a long time, I want to allow it with a burst IOP, right? It's as simple as that. And you can actually configure this right from OpenStack if you integrate it with OpenStack, right? So you don't need to go to the storage system and set this up. You can do it directly from OpenStack. A user can easily configure this within OpenStack and leverage it. As simple as that, but a really, really powerful feature. Then let's talk about Scaleout. Actually, with SolidFire, I don't call it Scaleout at all. I think SolidFire is elastic, right? You don't just want Scaleout, basically. You also want scale down, right? And you should be able to simply do it. For example, I have a storage cluster, and I think it's running on very low capacity, and I want to remove the nodes. So with SolidFire, it's very simple. Example is right here. We have 3 data centers, and all are running on OK capacity, right? But suddenly we see that there is more capacity being consumed and more performance being consumed in Munich. OK, now what do? Should I buy new storage systems? But in my Hamburg and Dresden data center, I don't have that much capacity being consumed at the moment, and also not performance. So what I do is simply move one node from here, and one node from here, ship it, Deutsche Post it, and you don't have to spend any money, right? That's how simple it is. And it is probably not as simple as I showed in the diagram, but it's not something that you need a specially trained person to do. It's just that remove these nodes, click, 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 done. And then pull out the wires and take it home, or take it to the other data center. And that's exactly what we vision. That's exactly what we have to offer. So I said it is a proven platform, and who are our customers, and why do they buy SolidFire? And the main drivers are scale-out, performance guarantee, and API automation that I mentioned already. So we have customers like PayPal, Comcast, eBay, FICO. And I will be very honest with you, all these customers have a Ceph cluster in their premises. And PayPal is one of the unique ones. They have NetApp on tap, they have Ceph, and also SolidFire in their environment, because they understand the storage systems and they know what they can leverage from them. Maybe not everybody would want to do that, but that is also possible, and people do that. And why did they choose SolidFire? Was, for example, for Comcast. I don't know, I've heard some rumors that all their Ceph engineers were hired by Walmart, but maybe that's false. But that's also one of the reasons, maybe. But that's not really the reason that they chose, because they had chosen SolidFire before that. And they wanted guaranteed performance for their intensive I/O workloads, and that's why they chose SolidFire for those particular workloads. Where they wanted to guarantee performance to their applications. When they moved from a limit of tenants, say they had a few tenants at a moment, but then the number of tenants just expanded and they could not handle it, that's when they came to SolidFire. And then they started using SolidFire, and now they have enterprise storage which can guarantee them performance. So basically, all these are similar stories of why they chose SolidFire, but it's just that after a point, it may become difficult to manage and guarantee your tenants the performance they need, right? And it is difficult with an open source environment, I believe, to create a system which can serve all kinds of workloads, right? You can design a Ceph cluster, probably, yes, but you will serve one workload. So the guy I talked to, he has an object storage workload, and they have one application that runs on it. So he knows the system, he knows how Ceph works, and he can tune the system. Okay, that's how I make it work, and that's perfect for my environment. Everything will work fine. Probably it will work fine. No problem. But if you have thousands of developers working on the same environment, and how can you tune the system for each and every kind of workload? You cannot really do that, right? So that's the differentiation, that's the difference point when it comes to expansion of multiple tenants, and when it comes to guaranteeing performance, SolidFire stands completely on the outside. Now everybody's talking about containers, so I thought I would also maybe talk a little bit. Why not? So they are here, right? And we are a storage company. Maybe you're thinking, what have you got to do with containers? Why are you talking about that? But I think it is very important to talk about containers. So that's how infrastructure is being served or visioned in many companies, that we will have our hardware and we will serve OpenStack on top of it. We will use it as our infrastructure base, and then probably we'll have container management, we'll have a PaaS layer on top of that, right? That's what people are trying to do. And then we'll give it to our developers, and they will develop all the new applications, use all the new tools, use all the new databases on top of that. And that's how it will work, right? That's what probably everybody thinks about, what they want to provide to their developers today. But wait a minute. I don't know how many of you were at the Austin Summit. There was so much talk about containers and so many people talking about containers, right? And many of them are thinking, okay, I will put Kubernetes maybe, or Mesos, top of my hardware, and maybe run OpenStack services on top of that. Why not? Maybe I don't need a virtualization layer. Maybe I do for some workloads, maybe I don't do it, right? Maybe I'm not ready for it today, but I want to go there, and I want to make these technologies mature enough, right? So that they can handle the security layer, they can handle everything on networking, and when everything runs on container, why do I even need a virtualization layer? Maybe, I don't know. This is totally maybe something I'm just thinking, or something totally wild. Yeah? And then I write also applications on the same platform where I have OpenStack services running. Right? This is a possibility. I don't know if anybody is doing today, but people are doing POCs and showing at OpenStack Summit and stuff like that. And then it could also happen that we don't really need, this is totally bizarre. I don't think this is going to happen. But why not think about it, right? These are just technologies and softwares, right? They will come and go. These are technologies, right? Maybe somebody will create something really new and cool, which totally abstracts everything else. You don't need to worry about it, right? And maybe there's something totally new. It's not even the Mesos and the Kubernetes. It's something new technology, right? So why am I saying all this? What does it even mean? And why is it relevant? Yeah. I think it is relevant because we all have to think about it when we are buying our infrastructure, when we are architecting our infrastructure, right? That technology is going to change. But what can I do when I'm doing a design of my data center? What should I think about when I'm thinking of buying storage, of servers, of buying software? I think there is only one thing that you should think about, and that is decouple. And I will give you a really good example of decouple. Virtual machines, right? You have a KVM virtual machine, you have a VMware virtual machine, you have Amazon virtual machine. If you want to move one virtual machine from Amazon to VMware, you cannot do that, right? So if your workload, if your data is directly coupled with your VM, you cannot move it around. But with Docker, you have a Docker image, you run it in Amazon, you run it in KVM, you run it in VMware, it doesn't matter. You can move it around easily because it is completely decoupled, right? So that is one example. And you have to think about it in every example, not just this example, right? You have to think about it when you're thinking about storage. That's what I wanted to tell you, that when you think about storage, make sure that you take storage system which is not directly coupled or which is not tightly coupled with your infrastructure. It should be loosely coupled. You should decouple it. And that's where I think the new age storage systems should go. It should be able to talk to Mesos. It should be able to talk to VMware. It should be able to talk to Puppet, Chef, Ansible, OpenStack. It should be able to integrate with each and everything that you want to integrate with, right? And it should be easy and simple. And it should be API-based. And if I want to move from one platform to another, I should be able to do that, right? If I want to have a parallel environment with my OpenStack environment, a Mesos environment, and I want to use the same storage system, I should be able to use that, right? So that's where you should think, and that's where you should actually go when you are even thinking about storage. Maybe Ceph also has the same properties, right? And that's why people like Ceph, because it is simple, it is Ethernet-based, and same is the case with, for example, SolidFire. It doesn't have very complex wiring or anything. You just have 4 cables, for example, attached to it, right? You want more simple, more decoupled, more easy to use things in the new age data center. So I have already been talking too much about open source storage, right? I just want to do a time check really quick. So these are some of my views. I don't really want to say something is good or bad. But I don't know how many of you have heard of HelloFresh. How many of you ordered with Amazon? They send you this gift voucher nowadays, right? And what comes with this HelloFresh is you get a bunch of recipes and ingredients. So you'll get everything that you need to make really nice dishes, and you will get cool recipes from Jamie, right? Jamie's a really good chef, okay? And what is the promise? That you will make such amazing dishes. They will be really yummy, and they will look so good, and that's what you will be able to make because you have the recipes that Jamie has, right? And you have all the ingredients that you can. And I'm not saying you cannot make them. You can definitely make these, and it is very much possible, right? But when you start, you burn stuff, You realize, oh, I'm not a good chef. It doesn't work that well. I burnt it, I cannot present it that well. Maybe I can fill my stomach, everything is fine, but I'm not really, But maybe you will develop those skills, right? Maybe you will be able to learn, and maybe your wife is a really good chef, or maybe you can hire a really good chef, right? And he can make all these nice dishes for you. You just provide him with the ingredients, right? So it is very much possible. You can do everything, but you need to be a chef to make good dishes. So it is an important message that you need to understand that, people need to understand that they are not Google, they are not Facebook, they are not Amazon. They have resources, they have talented people, they can afford them, and they can build those systems and manage those systems, right? But not everybody can try to become Amazon or try to become Facebook. They have to solve business problems, right? They want to eat good food. They don't want to sit and make food. And, I missed one part. There is lots of work, You have to clean up, and after that. So it's just an analogy that I wanted to present my view on. Totally possible, everything is good, no problems. But what do you want is the question, right? What is your choice, right? You can go eat in a restaurant, for example, right, and not worry about anything. You can order food home. You have lots of options, right? New options, old options. You can hire a chef who makes really good food, but maybe the chef will go to the neighbor after some day. You don't know, right? So that's what I wanted to leave you with, and think about. We have choices always, right? And we should have choices. Why not? And we should be able to make those choices, and we should make them as per our requirements and our own talents. I'm not a good chef, so I will maybe order food online. But if you are a good chef, you should cook good food yourself and feed your children as well. Why not? So ONTAP 9 is our platform, which is completely virtualized. NetApp is going towards completely software-defined solutions. You can go get ONTAP 9 on Amazon Web Services and very soon in Azure as well. So what we as a storage company want to do is we want to enable you to run your enterprise workloads in a DevOps environment as well, and also take you to the new age data center where everything is custom built for the new developers. So we want to make sure that if you have enterprise workloads, you can add some characteristics of DevOps. We can enable you, for example, with all the qualities of ONTAP 9 in OpenStack. And if you are an existing customer, you can leverage those. And we also promise you that we are going towards a storage which is like Amazon storage, like EBS, right? Like SolidFire. I just want a volume. I don't care from where it comes. I just need guaranteed performance. That's it. Simple and fast. So I call SolidFire a storage box, a cloud storage box, right? You can scale it out incrementally. We are also introducing really cool and new licensing models, like capacity-based. So x86, SolidFire is x86-based. So you can buy your hardware from the vendor you like, and we will not interfere with that. And you can negotiate your prices, for example, with the vendor. And we can also give you just software if you like. So there are different kinds of models. If you're interested in them, there's a talk that we did recently from SolidFire, how we are changing the licensing of how you can deploy your storage in your data center with x86 Ethernet-based hardware, right? So we have everything to offer, to show, and we are going in the direction that you are going. So everybody in IT is in a changing mode, and so are we, and we are also trying to bring products up to that level and towards that. So if you are interested, we have a test drive for ONTAP. So I said ONTAP can run in Amazon Web Services. So we will create a lab for you in Amazon, and you can use this lab to test out how ONTAP works with OpenStack. So this is the URL for that. And we have many test drives. So lots of our softwares that NetApp has, they run in Amazon, and you can test them for free. They also have a lab guide, so you don't need to really figure out, okay, how do I use it? You can just do the lab guide and understand how everything works. And we have this one-stop page for containers, DevOps, OpenStack, where you can find what NetApp is doing. We have blogs. We have ways your engineers can start working with NetApp technologies and leverage them in the new age with OpenStack, like config and deployment guides and everything that you're looking for, even the test traveling. So that's it. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them. I think
now it's working. Any questions? Nobody?
No.
It's for free? Okay, so Kapil, thanks for your interesting talk.
Yeah.